This map has Jesus leaving the upper room and going down across the lower city, the city of David, and finding a route, an exit. Actually, I can show you that gate. It's called the Essene Gate. And they know there's a gate way down there on the Mount Zion. We're not going to do that. We're just going to kind of go across the city here, pick up the Kidron Valley and straight down. So we're cutting. He had to find a city gate. We're already outside. Actually, we're going to go onto the Dung Gate and then walk right past the city of David, over the top of the city of David. We'll see that we'll walk over that same blacktop road. Remember all that? But we'll keep going around the corner down to the Valley of Kidron. All right. Now, okay. Well, so just so you know, that's the route we're going. Let me just say this before we start out. We may stop along the way a couple times, and we're going to pace ourselves. We're in good shape time-wise. Along the way, Jesus preaches to the 11 now. The Judas has departed. But Jesus is with the 11, and he preaches all of John 15, I am the vine, you are the branches, unless you abide in me. All of John 16, it's expedient for you that I go away. If I don't depart, the Comforter won't come. But if I depart, the Comforter will come. When he comes, he'll reprove the world of sin, righteousness, and judgment, and so on. And then somewhere on the side of the Kidron, the very route we're following, Jesus is going to stop and pray for his disciples. John 17. You will sometimes see John 14 to 16 referred to as the upper room discourse. Well, not quite, because it's explicit in John 14:31, he leaves. And he's making his way to Gethsemane. In John 18, it says, rather evocatively, and we'll stop down at the bottom of the valley and talk about it, it says he stepped over the brook Kidron. Now, the brook Kidron runs right across that valley, and you got to cross that valley to get from this eastern hill. We're on the western hill now. We're going to cross over to the eastern hill. I'll make a point of that as we do it. Cross the eastern hill into the Kidron, down the Kidron, and actually down the side of the Kidron. We're going to be going north. And then we're going to cross the Kidron, stepping over the brook Kidron. He found a garden. That's the garden we're headed for. That make sense to you? So it's really a nice walk. Willard's going to stay with us. We'll have to drone. The Central Valley right here, you can see the road we've been appealing to down there as the Central Valley. So this is the little city of David. This is the Western Hill, right? And we just came around we've been following the southern wall here for what it's worth. And we'll keep going over the city of David here.
Back up the hill, you'll see them, a bucket change. A bucket brigade is going. And they're dumping the dirt to be sifted offsite elsewhere, you know.
What did you say?
Okay, they're excavating.
Oh,
see
down
that
in there.
bucket brigade?
Oh, yeah,
They got all the fill going out.
Oh, okay.
As Dad said, this is a city of David. They're currently excavating it right now.
And then they're dumping it into the big hole. Sometimes I think so. Yeah, they're in the city of David excavation.
Wow.
They're going to do that.
More stuff to look at.
which means Yahweh will judge, Shaphat, judge. And the Jewish people, I don't know, it's important for them to be buried here, so they'll be early in the judgment. I don't understand that. But so you have the more modern cemeteries up here, and down low in the reaches you've got older graves and so on. And now above you, you can't see it, behind us here are Palestinian Arab graves. And I'm not sure about these down here, whether they're Palestinian or Jewish. Now, you see what we're doing, folks? We're making our way down the Kidron Valley, see? You can't quite see it. I can see. If you look around, we'll have to climb back up, and there's a church with a mosaic facade. It's got a gray dome. That's Gethsemane. That's where we're headed, okay? So we're just going to make our way down here and then have to climb back out. Let me just tell you this real quickly, because the church closes at noon. It's 10 after 11. We don't need but 10 or 15 minutes there, but I want to make sure I get you there in time for that, okay? So I'm not going to stop and say too much, but think again about John 15, about John 16, even that prayer that Jesus prays. Your name comes up in that. You know, I have other sheep that he prays for. And then we'll stop at the bottom and step across the brook. Okay, so we'll keep going here for now. I can't remember the last name, but the name. But it's again, all of these are first century tombs, first century BC and then first century AD. Now we're going to go around the corner here, beyond that tree. See that one tree stand there? There's a huge one. We're going to walk right by it. That's the tomb of Absalom. No, it's not the tomb of Absalom. It's called the pillar of Absalom. 2 Samuel 18 says that Absalom built in the valley of Kidron a monument to himself, 2 Samuel 18:18, because I'm not leaving a son as a legacy. So he built a monument. This is first century, so it's clearly late, and there are various, some people think it was that was the tomb of Zacharias, the father of John the Baptist, but at any rate, it's remembered as the tomb of Absalom. Now, one thing, gotta go. This is reflective of a habit that Jesus references. This was a main thoroughfare, and this was a place of tombs. And what the Jews would do is they would, these guys are wiring a new lamppost. What they would do is they would build monumental tombs to the prophets, or and their reasoning was that in the Old Testament, the prophets were hated. The men of God would come for a message of God, and their own generations would hate them and sometimes kill them. And the first prophet they killed, by the way, was Abel. And the last prophet was a man named Zechariah, not our Zechariah, a guy in 2 Chronicles. And so they would build monumental tombs, and as they went by, they would throw flowers on it in Jesus' day, as if to say, now our fathers killed the prophets, but we honor the prophets, and we wouldn't have done it. And Jesus pointed to tombs like that and said, you build monuments to the prophets, but then you go about to kill me, proving that you are indeed the sons of your fathers. You're just like them. See the point? So these are evocative of Jesus' statement, though it was a different set of tombs. These are first century tombs, and maybe one of these tombs was at stake, but we don't know to what prophet it was built and so on. Go ahead. Brand new. I don't know what. This is Silwan, that whole village. It's been trouble, lots of trouble. And they've got it under control, and I think the Jews are saying, we're going to clean this side of the city up. And they're putting in a nice walkway, and they put, look up here, look at the gardens. That's all brand new. All of those terraced gardens and so on, all of that's in the last couple of years. So I think they're just cleaning, which made their tribe than it was in Jesus' day. We're about 30 feet above the ground level in Jesus' day. But, yeah, it's filled in. Not as badly as the other valley, which is the Central Valley, but this one, too, is filled in. The drainage is different. Linda was pointing out that there is some indication that we've had water in the last couple of days, you can imagine, with the rains. But this was the brook Kidron. And it's evocative to stop here on a couple of counts. Number one, in John 18, it says, stepping over the brook Kidron, he went into the Mount of Olives. He's making reference. Now, it goes straight up, and so it wouldn't hurt to get started while I'm blabbering here. Willard, you go ahead if you're up to it. It's interesting that in 2 Samuel 23, as David is fleeing from Absalom, it makes a big point of the fact that as he fled, he stepped over the brook Kidron and went up to the Mount of Olives weeping. Now in John chapter 18, you get the second David, the latter David, stepping over the brook Kidron, having been rejected by the city, starting up the Mount of Olives and weeping over the city. The other thing is that this was Passover. And remember, this is the drainage ditch. And early this afternoon, or mid-afternoon, they started slaying those Passover lambs. And this brook would run red with the blood of those lambs, because it was all washed off the Temple Mount and off to the Dead Sea. So now you get this picture of Jesus stepping over the brook, which is running red, I think, with the blood of those animals that he knows is only a picture of what he's going to suffer. So it's really a poignant moment where it says there in John 18. It sounds just geographical, but it's pretty poignant. All right, let's see. I'll tell you about the church of the Gethsemane. Because we're going to go up there. It's free. And I'm going to send you in. And we'll have, as of now, you should have plenty of time because it closes at noon. That's not where I want to talk. I want to talk about Gethsemane, but we can go across the street, and there's a little garden. I'll have to get a guy to open it for us, and then must be a Baptist garden because they take a collection, you know. But no, it's not. It's very Catholic. Let me tell you, when you walk through the gate, you'll see about 16, maybe a little more than that, very ancient olive trees. Olive trees don't have wings. They don't have that either. They don't have rings. So you can't very scientifically date an olive tree. But these are almost universally acknowledged to be somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 years old. Some people will say these were the same olive trees that were here when Jesus was here. Probably not, because Rome tore all the trees down. Josephus makes a big point. They absolutely denuded the hills in order to come up with wood for their crosses when they conquered Jerusalem in 70 AD, for their siege machines. Yeah, the original stumps. They might have grown out of the original stumps, but the trees had to grow back. Now, on the other hand, so you're going to walk in and you're going to see those trees. Then it's a garden, and it's all one way. You got to walk around. On the other hand, as you go past the garden and then go up some steps, you'll see this church, this big church. It's a nice enough church. It's called the Church of All Nations because it was built with money collected from all these different nations. And it's, I can't remember, but it's mid-1900s, early 1900s, not real old. They claim to have a rock. They have a rock. They're not claiming anything about it, but I think that probably was retrofitted. But for reasons I'm going to tell you about later on, I think chances are almost certain that this is Gethsemane. All right? Remember now, it was illegal to have a rabbinical law. You couldn't have a garden in there. So in a walled city. So if you could afford it, you buy up a little piece of ground. This was not a public garden. Somebody owned this. Think of it more as a, here they come, good deal. Think of it more as a hobby farm. Maybe, very possibly, who knows, maybe the same woman who owned that home also owned this little hobby farm and allowed Jesus access. So when John 18 says that Jesus and his disciples often stayed here when they came to Jerusalem. The remarkable thing about this, I'm going to say this to them again, the remarkable thing about this particular garden is it has a cave. All right, so how you doing, Willard? Sit down for a minute. Good job. Good job. That was above and beyond there. Now let me tell you one other thing. This cave, it's hard. You're going to leave the garden, walk down the lane into another church, and underneath a long lane, and you get to a cave. We're going to try to peek in that cave. I can't guarantee anything. I'll show you where it is. We can at least look in the door as we leave. I think what made this garden important to Jesus was that it was owned by someone who followed him and gave him access to it, and it featured a cave which is comfortable. It's warm in the winter and it's cool in the summer. It's a nice place to stay. So they would often, Jesus comes to the city late in his ministry with 12